Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. Welcome to Building Wealth Together, where our goal is to help you walk in abundance and leave a legacy. It's Wealth Building Wednesday, where we answer your money questions with style and grace. I'm not here to just take people's money. I know kidding want people to succeed, and you're not going to succeed if you're not taking the class. So I want you to have some skin in the game. And as we approach fall and we approach all the things that could possibly be going wrong with the COVID resurfacing and heading into winter, it's important for you to take action. We've got some great classes that we're going to be programming. We're going to do As a Man Thinketh. We're going to do the Science of Getting Rich. We're going to bring back our Think and Grow Rich to round out our year. And I've got some special surprises up my sleeve for you to kick off the new year. You want to go register. If you know you are interested in those classes, if I were you, I would go register so that you get in for free. We're putting the prices back on. I've been there. I've been the person who's spending my money faster than I can earn it. I've been the person who's $845,000 in debt and didn't know what I was going to do. I've been the person who made so much more money than I ever grew up with that I didn't manage it well. Like, you fill in the blank of almost every financial mistake you could make. I made it. Let me give you another one. I've been the person who invested in Kmart based off of a hot tip from a barbershop my husband's brother was going to. And when Kmart declared bankruptcy the next day, guess where my money went? Down the toilet. Every single drop of our savings gone. All right. So if you've got a money mistake out there, I know how to overcome it. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to answer the questions that were submitted. I am trying to set up Facebook so that I can see your comments come through. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. And if you're logging into Zoom, I'm going to, from time to time, check the Zoom. And then at the end, if you want to talk live, we'll be able to do that. Or you can just ask your question in the chat box. I'm trying to give multiple ways for people to ask their questions, because sometimes people feel a little bit embarrassed about asking money questions for the whole world to see. Now, if you're not ready to ask your question today and you think of one tomorrow, you can go to jjconway.org or also buildingwealthtogether.org. They both have the same button that says Ask JJ, and it takes you to a little Google form where you can ask your question. And then it takes you to a spot where you can book a 15-minute no-cost consult with me. Now, if you've already had like 20 no-cost consults with me, I might ask you to book my time for reals, right? But right now, during this time of COVID, I'm trying to help people survive. And so if you don't have it, you don't have it, but I still want to help you, because one day you're going to have it and you're going to need me to help you learn how to invest it and grow it, right? Right. It's a win-win. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our first question. Our first question today says, I need help organizing my debt priority, and it's making it frustrating to pay off. Okay, now I will tell you, there is nothing more frustrating than scrimping and saving and managing your spend plan and managing your bank accounts, and you still feel like you're getting nowhere. I have been there. Let me talk a little bit about prioritizing your debt, okay? One of the things that I teach, and if you were to engage me as your financial planner, I would actually give you a spreadsheet that outlines this. One of the things that I teach is prioritization, and that is the order in which you're going to spend your money. I find that a lot of people come to me and they're stressed out about their credit score, and so they will make sure they pay that credit card bill, but their shoes have holes in it, and they don't have any food. They're doing like I used to do when I was $845,000 in debt. You know, I would go to people's houses for Bible study and take a plate home. And I would go to 2 or 3 Bible studies a week and take a plate home. And I would go to Sam's Club and Myers, and I would walk around a couple times and eat all the free samples. Like, when you're broke, right? And so when you're working so hard, sometimes we don't realize that our priorities are misaligned. So let me give you an idea about priorities. And then now I didn't fall prey to this because I had already kind of felt like that wasn't right. But there's a lot of people in a lot of churches today. You go to these evangelical revivals and they tell you to give your rent money, your mortgage money, your bill money, and they tell you to trust that God is going to provide. I'm going to tell you today, I absolutely trust the Lord to provide for everything he lays on my heart. And guess what? When he doesn't provide, then I'm not giving it. So our priority for how we're going to manage our household is to make sure we take care of our four walls first. We want to make sure we take care of our house, including our utilities, our basic food, our basic transportation, and then we also want to cover basic clothing depending on what is needed. You know, if you're working from home behind a smoke screen and nobody ever sees you, you really don't need any red bottom shoes, okay? I got red bottom shoes on the brain because I think I'm buying me some for my retirement. All right. Not retirement from financial planning. I'll be retiring from the military soon, so I'm super excited about that. But I was thinking about buying me some to wear in my retirement ceremony. So you guys can give me some feedback on that. What do you think? Do you think I should splurge a little bit, you know, or should I just do my same old plain Jane, you know? All right, but to answer your question, not mine, not to take over your question, not like I'm led vain or anything. Well, actually, yeah, I kind of am sometimes when it comes to shopping. To answer your question, you're going to want to take care of your four walls first, and then you have to evaluate out of all the debts and all the bills that you have, can you actually pay them? See, a lot of people they don't realize they can't pay their bills, and so they're kind of going on with blinders on, like they're only focusing on what's right in the middle, right in the center in front of my face, and then I'll deal with the next fire, and I'll deal with the next fire. And what I'm going to ask you to do is take a holistic look at your finances and then seriously evaluate whether or not you can actually pay off your bills. A lot of times we hide from our bills, we hide from our situation, and that only makes it worse in the long run. It feels good in the short term because if I hide from all of that that's going on and I just look at this, I can deal with this and I can feel better about this. And if I just ignore all of that, I'm going to have to feel bad about all that. But all of that is going to come after me tomorrow. And so a better plan is to really look holistically at how much time you have left on this paycheck and how much money you have left on this paycheck and what can you realistically do. Now, if you can pay all your bills, I'm going to recommend that you pay your bills, your utilities and all that goes with your four walls, that you pay all your necessary things. And then if you feel like you're frustrated, okay, because this person wrote frustrated, that tells me like you feel like you're not getting where you need to go, I would seriously look at a dry bones spend plan. You know, people always talk about a bare bones spend plan, but I want you to look at a dry bones, like you have squeezed every ounce of liquid out of them old bones, and you are cutting left and right everything you can possibly cut. I remember when I had cut everything I could possibly cut, and then I still didn't have enough money. And then I had to go get another job, which isn't easy as when you're in the military. And another job and another job. You know, at one point I was running my online boutique, Precious and Pleasant, which really kind of isn't in business for reals anymore. I was doing Avon and Mary Kay all in the same month and trying to invest in real estate once I discovered that I could do so without going into debt. I'm telling you, it was miserable, but I got it done, and you can get it done, okay? So if you can pay your bills, that's what I would recommend. Pay your bills, pay your debts, and then with what's left over, make sure you've got your savings built up first before you do this. But once you've got some savings built up, then rank your bills smallest to largest and throw everything you've got at that smallest one. Knock it out as quick as you can. Then take what you were paying on the smallest one, apply that to the next one, and then that one out as fast as you can, okay? Dave Ramsey calls this the debt snowball. You know, interestingly, I got this concept in my life from Larry Burkett, but I don't remember what he called it. I don't know that he called it anything. But anyway, that's how I would recommend that you do it. The intensity and the ferociousness with which you attack these will give you the momentum to actually pay something off. And then once you get it paid off, you'll feel so much better. The other thing I would say today, and it's hard to tell from just a written story, so if you come on the line, I emailed all these people and let them know I was answering their question tonight. If you come on the line and want to give me more details, please do, and we'll talk about your situation. But for anybody who's feeling frustrated, you feel like you're taking one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, three steps back. You're working, and it just feels like you're getting nowhere. I'm going to tell you, for 5 or 6 years, I felt like I was getting nowhere with $845,000 of debt. But if you keep going, this is year 11. 11 years later, I've just got one of those properties left. It was the one that was 220 upside down. And I'm in the process of trying to sell it to the tenants. And once that's gone, it's going to be such a huge weight off of my shoulders. Because the market crashed in 2007, 8, 9, and that property never recovered. And was so sad as I was going through my tax records and preparing to sell this house, and I found that the house itself was only $368,000 sales price. But by the time we paid for closing, and I don't know why we had a whole lot of extra fees, because we went conventional on this house. We didn't use a VA loan. We didn't use an FHA loan. We were so proud of ourselves. Like, we were so proud being all financially far enough along that we had the savings to go plunk, here's some money down. Like, we felt so proud of ourselves, right? Well, when the market crashed, all of those assistance programs were only for people with government-backed loans. And so similarly with the CARES Act is only for people, that only gives you relief for people who have government-backed loans. Well, this house is not on a government-backed loan, which I had to remind the renters of that first month of COVID when they didn't pay rent. And I was like, this house doesn't fall under the CARES Act, so, and then they paid rent, I don't blame them, because I would have been the same way. They're trying to buy it. Like, if I was them, I totally would have been saving up my money. I ain't gonna hate the player, man. All right. So in this case, when we're really, really frustrated, we've got to do a couple things. One, we have to tap into our intention. Why is it important for you to get out of debt? I know why it's important for me to get out of debt, because I don't ever want to have to live in some moldy basement apartment again with my child, that this is all I can afford and I can't even give him his own bedroom, right? I don't ever want to have to live in nasty hotels again. I don't ever want to have to sleep in Walmart parking lots because I don't have a place to live. Like, I don't want to have to do that ever again. It's important to me to have finances. It's important to me to have savings. It's important to me to have investments. It's important to me to try and take care of my kids' their education costs. But it's also important to me to teach them how to get their own scholarships, because mommy could use that money, right? So those things are important to me. They're important to me because of what I lived through. And they're important to me because I don't want my sons to have to live that legacy. If the Lord calls them into a time of poverty, okay, well, then they're going to have to walk through that season of poverty and learn what the Lord has for them. But I don't want them to walk into a season of poverty just because their mom never taught them how to manage money. And my mom did a great job managing very, very, very little money. I don't know how she did it, right? But I didn't learn how to survive. I thought you just throw more money at a problem, even if it means taking on more debt. Well, guess what? That doesn't work usually. Many of you who I've seen have been joining the Facebook, you've discovered that doesn't work, okay? So that's the first thing. When we're getting frustrated, really, really get intentional about what it is that you want out of your financial future. Maybe you know that you have a medical condition and you don't want to have to work in your old age. You want to be able to contribute to your community. You want to be able to go do something fun. You want to be able to enjoy the fruit of your labor. I had a husband on one time, and him and his wife were talking about finances, and he was like, I've been working hard for 30 years and we can't even take a vacation. I'm so frustrated with always having to scrimp and save. And when you peeled back the onion, the wife was always blaming the husband about it, but actually it was a mutual thing. But once they got clear about their intentions and what they no kidding wanted, and she began to understand his heart and he began to understand her heart, then they could come up with something that's mutual. Now, I'm very thankful that the things my husband likes are the same things I like. We like sporting events. We like to travel. We like to cruise. We like to go places. We like spas. We like foot rubs. We like a lot of the same things. It's very easy for me and my husband to get on the same page. But there are some things I like that he doesn't like, and there's some things he likes that I don't like. He doesn't like Hot Springs, Arkansas. That's why I do my lady's birthday retreat in Hot Springs without him. My birthday gift is he keeps the kids and we pay for all the retreat and all my spa stuff, right? So you learn how to accommodate each other so that everybody gets something that speaks to their heart, but at the same time, you feel like you're working towards a common goal as a partnership. And that's the first thing I would recommend if you're getting frustrated. I would recommend really getting in touch with why this is important for you. And I would even write it out. In fact, if you go to buildingwealthtogether.com right now, I have a course called 3 Easy Ways to Win with Money. And that's the first step. Get intentional about what you want and no kidding, write it down. We put it where you'll see it every day. Every day on my mirror, I've got a sticky with my goals, my financial goals for the year. Where do I want my business to be by the time the year ends? Where do I want my family to be? Where do I want my health to be by the time 2020 is over? I see that every time I go into my bathroom. And the more you see it and the more you live into it in your mind, the more you begin to walk in that energy. And I don't know how it works. Like I may be a physicist, but I don't know everything about how God designed the universe. But I find that when we keep ourselves in the energy of the thing that we want, that more often than not, it actually materializes in our lives, especially if you're leaning upon the Lord, okay? So the other thing, so that's getting intentional, writing it down, right? If you're getting frustrated, I would sit back and evaluate if you're really doing a dry bones plan. If you're not doing a dry bones plan and you're frustrated because you don't seem to have any extra money, well, you need to do one of two things. You either need to free up some income by spending less, or you need to grow some income by making more. I very rarely have a client that just plain doesn't make enough money. I've had 2 clients in the 20 plus years that I've been doing this that literally did not make enough money to survive. And one of those clients, 5 years later, she came back to me and she's like, we're completely out of debt with just disability, her and her husband. Okay. And we don't always do a very good job in this country of taking care of people, but we walk through the strategies. Okay. Now, if somebody doesn't have the money to pay their bills, once they evaluate their whole picture, I'm going to recommend to you that you create a zero-based spend plan. And that means you're not spending any more money for each pay period than you're bringing in. So if my bills, my house is $1,500 and my electric's $100 and my water's $100 and my internet is $100 and my house bills are like $2,000 a month, and then I have Macy's for $300 a month, and I have Best Buy for $200 a month, and I have JCPenney's for $1,000 a month because I went and bought a big furniture and Christmas for my family, right? Everybody came over. Let's say I did that, but I'm only making $1,500 a month. Well, if I'm only making $1,500 a month, there's no way I can pay all that. And what a lot of us do is we take out loans or we take out credit cards and we try to juggle it all. But when the dust settles, now we have actually made our situation worse. So I'm going to recommend that you don't make your situation worse. You simply stop the bleeding. And if all I make this month is $1,500, then I'm going to pay my house note and everything else is going to wait. Actually, if all I'm making is $1,500 and my house note is $1,500, I'm looking to move real quick and I'm looking to work out something with my mortgage company, okay? But in the moment, let's work with what we've got and stop digging the hole deeper. Okay, so that's another thing that we can do if we feel like we're getting frustrated. A lot of times people come to me, they make $200,000, $300,000 a year, and they're so frustrated. They see their peers living large and they feel like they're scrimping and saving and getting nowhere. And once we sit down and actually, no kidding, look at their spend plan, we realize that the reason they feel so frustrated is because they haven't been intentional about where they want to go. And so all these little knick-knacky things come up, and then they spend their money on that, and then they don't have the money to go do what they want. But once we get clear about what we want and we march towards that path, then we can start to prioritize our funds in a way that speaks to our heart and helps us to be content even when we don't have everything that we want to have. All right, so another thing that we can do when we're frustrated, a lot of times we think that we need more money. Personally, I think most people that come to me need to manage their money better, not necessarily make more. But if you want to make, that's what one of my superpowers is. I'm really, really good at talking with somebody for about 15, 20 minutes and figuring about 2 or 3 businesses that they can implement right now. It's just one of my talents and one of my gifts. And I didn't know when I used to sit in those boring staff meetings, dreaming up different ideas for business. I didn't know that one day I was going to be a business coach and financial coach, and I was going to help people achieve their dreams. Like, I didn't know that. I just knew I was trying to stay awake. And so I would sketch out ideas. Well, what if I had this kind of business? What would I do? What would my business plan look like? Who would I market to? You know, all those kinds of things. So I have a really good knack for that. And if you need to learn how to make more money, I can give you some ways, things that you can implement immediately, things that you could implement with a little more training, and things that could take a long-term plan for you to actually go toward. Sometimes just knowing that we're on the trajectory to get what we want helps us to feel so much better about our situation. All right, next question. I need someone to guide me through how to organize my finances and create a roadmap and prioritize what needs to be done. So everything that I just said for the previous question applies to this question, but learning resources and becoming more disciplined and educated, those are actually 2 separate things. See, getting the education you need about how money works, that's one thing. Becoming more disciplined is actually a separate issue. And it's the reason why a financial planner has one of her best-selling classes, Self-Image Mastery. Because our self-image and how we think about ourselves and how our subconscious perceives ourselves, the programming that's running in the back of our head actually contributes way more than we realize to our financial decisions. A lot of times people come to me and they are procrastinators, and they like to bury their head in the sand. Now, I already talked about burying my head in the sand. If I'm focused right here, I can solve this and I can feel good for a second. But when I look at all these issues, now it's overwhelming, right? And so, you know, what I usually tell people to do is to, no kidding, go through the Self-Image Mastery class. Because if we're not disciplined, if we're procrastinating, if we're ignoring things that we know we need to address, hoping they go away. Now, look, y'all, some of us have been on this earth 4, 5, 6, 7 decades. We should know by now that if you ignore something, it doesn't get better. It only gets worse. We should know this, right? Oh my goodness, but we do it anyway. And a lot of times it's the programming of our subconscious that leads us to make those decisions. Why do I procrastinate on doing my doctoral work? You would think I teach people how to stop procrastinating. I teach people how to be disciplined. I teach people how to really value themselves so that they'll start charging what they're worth for their time, right? I teach those things. So why do I struggle every single class? I'm already on my 2nd year of doctoral work, but every single class, I have a hard time doing it. Why? Because I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid my writing's not good enough. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to pull the research I need in the time that I have available. I'm afraid of any number of fill in the blanks. And that's what's stopping a lot of people that are on this call tonight. We're afraid. We're afraid of failure. Sometimes we're afraid of success. And so if we find that we have trouble being disciplined when we come to money, I want to encourage you to dig down under the hood and figure out what's going on. Because money problems aren't usually money problems. They're actually people problems. And most of the time, like I said, I've only had 2 people that came to me that literally did not make enough money to cover their basic necessities. I've had a lot of people that didn't have enough to cover their run-up bills, their credit cards and their truck and their cable TV. But I've rarely had anybody come to me that, no kidding, couldn't pay their basic bills with a little tweaking and a little management. Okay? So if we find ourselves ignoring our finances, if we find ourselves digging the hole deeper and deeper, just kind of hoping that it'll go away, that's a mindset. And the self-image mastery class will help you overcome that mindset. I have the name of the person who asked this question. If you will email me, I will gift you that class. But that's two separate things. One is the education of how to handle money, and I can absolutely walk you through the mechanics of that. The other piece is the education, and that's why we have the self-image mastery. It's also why we have the empowerment mentoring program, which is a once-a-month class designed to help us sharpen the saw and to stay in the right mindset. You know, once you get to where you're going, it's like a maintenance program, a re-injection of hope and faith and excitement for what's to come. All right. Okay, great question. Hey, I was faster on that one. All right, next question. I have about $14,000 in credit card debt with 3 credit cards. The interest rates vary from 11 to 22%. I'm curious as if I can do an unsecured loan and pay it that way with a lesser percentage rate, which would be around 13%. Mathematically, it is possible to calculate what you're spending on each loan, calculate out, you know, how much is the one that's 22%, how much is the one that's 11%, and you can calculate all that out, and you can come out with a mathematical calculation that will let you know whether or not taking this additional loan at 13% is a good idea. On the surface, it sounds so good, right? Like, well, if I've got all these interest rates, but this person has 3 of them. We know, because the smallest one's 11, that one of them is 11. We know that the largest interest rate is 22. We know that that's 22. And we know that the other one, whatever the third one is somewhere in the middle. Okay? Well, if 90% of your debt is at 11% interest rate, then it doesn't do you any good to consolidate. What it does is it makes you feel better, because now you just have one bill to worry about, and it just kind of makes you feel like the pressure's off. But here's the thing that I learned back in the days of Larry Burkett, when I first thought that you could just consolidate a loan and get one easy payment and make things totally easier on you, and then use the interest that you save to pay down debt. Guess what we do when we consolidate our loans down to one easy payment? What does 99.9% of the people who do this do? Out and get more debt. You have solved the problem. You've actually made it worse. Okay? And so I wrote this person back and said, I don't think that refinancing is the best thing. I mean, I can sit down with you. You want to pay me to do the financial analysis. I'm a financial planner. See, I'm a financial coach and I'm a financial planner. Those 2 separate things, right? So I can sit down. I can do the calculation with you. And you give me all the balances and stuff. I can tell you what's mathematically going to be the correct thing to do. But if we all cared about math in the first place, we wouldn't be in the financial situations that we're in. Let's just be real about that. Because interest is a penalty. When I was going for my financial planning certificate at George Mason, you know, that was a year-long program, and our instructor would always say, interest is a penalty. It's a penalty you pay for not doing what you should have done in the first place. And that's the way we have to look at it. Okay, so if you've got $14,000 of debt, I don't know what your income is, but on most incomes that people bring to me in this, you could knock this out in a year or 2. And you can do it the old-fashioned way. Stack your deck smallest to largest, and then throw everything extra at that smallest one till you knock it out, and then throw what you were paying towards the smallest one, throw all that extra at the next smallest one, knock it out. Same thing with the last one, knock it out. And not only will you have the financial victory of actually getting stuff done, but the pain you feel in paying all that off like that is actually going to help put some indelible ink on your soul that will remind you not to get in this situation again. See, when we just solve the problem with a refinance loan, or even worse, please don't do this. People refinance their house to pay off their debt. And they think it's okay because now you're just doing a mortgage check. But now what you're doing is you're paying for 30 years on your ski trip or your cruise. We don't want to do that, right? But we don't think about it that way. We think, oh, I need, this is overwhelming. I need the easier check. And we get the easier check. Now we're paying for 30 years on our latest shopping trip. And not only that, now we freed up some lines of credit. So then we go out and get more. That's what most people do, y'all. That's why I don't recommend it. I want to thank you for hanging with me. It always makes me feel good when I see that people are on. If you have a question that you want to ask, you can go to either jjconway.org or buildingwealthtogether.com. Both of those have a teal button that says Ask JJ. You go in, it gives you a short form to ask your questions, and then it will send you to a link to book a no-cost consult, 15 minutes with me. I'm happy to do that for you. And I'm happy to contribute to your success. All right. That's all I've got for you today. Y'all take care and be blessed.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe at jjconway.org. Now go walk in abundance and leave a legacy.